morning, everybody. Thanks for coming here this morning for the internship panel. My name is Rod Walker. This is Mr. Mike Martinez in the back. We both run the internship program for the undergrad and graduate students here. Specifically, I handle CSPD, El Paso, and all police departments. We are full for summer at CSPD already, and we are getting backlog for fall right now. So the moral of the story is that if you want to do an internship with the police department, you need to be looking a year out in advance, okay? When you get these things figured out, because they're very popular internships and hard to get. Plus, you'll be going through a background check and some other things. So pre-planning is necessary. I'd like to thank everybody from our panel today, from the different agencies around the Pikes Peak area and the Denver area, for coming down and sharing their time with you to explain the internship opportunities. According to Mr. Martinez, non-police department internships for fall, he wants in by June the 8th. So if you're looking for something other than a police department for the fall, have that to him by June the 8th. I still have some openings for CSPD for fall, but you need to get a hold of me right away, and then we'd have to have your application in probably sometime right around mid-April. Okay, so I'm happy to answer any questions you have afterwards. The panel will be here afterwards. They'll talk to you individually if you have some interest after hearing what they all have to say to you today, and you can get a little further information from each of the members representing their agencies. Okay, so we'll get going. And,
so Shelley has the microphone in the back. Shelley,
okay.
Would you mind starting kicking it off? Pass the microphone around.
Way to go.
Didn't expect that. I'm usually last. Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Shelley Burke. I'm from Department of Youth Services. We've just switched over from Department of Youth Corrections. I just want to thank you all for being here. We are a facility, we're 1 in 10 in Colorado. We're a treatment facility. We're very unique in that we house all males. So there's no females in our facility, and we're a smaller facility, so that's just creates more opportunity to build relationship and work with this population if you have a heart to help kids change, which will trickle into the community, and it really helps the community. It's a pretty good place to work. We recently changed over from Department of Youth Corrections to Department of Youth Services because we're attempting to be more trauma friendly and look more like a treatment facility than a correction facility. So it's not for the faint-hearted. Our population consists of kids that have habitually offended in the community. They've exhausted foster homes, group homes, and probation and lower level interventions. So once they get to us, it's pretty much the last stop before they end up in DOC. But there's a lot of progress that can be made. If you have a heart to work with these kids, their stay is anywhere from a year up to 6 years, but that's pretty rare. The average is about 16 months. We just got an individual in for 6 years, and that's kind of difficult because we run out of options and not a lot of motivation with the youth that is placed that long. But we're a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy program, so we work to help change the way these kids view themselves, others in the community. So it's very therapeutically based, and there's lots of potentials. These kids make lots of changes. We're also a transition, so as soon as we can get them out to the community, we have a lot of partners, a lot of organizations, Second Chance, Youth for Christ, a lot of mentors, organizations that teach them and partner with them, so when they get out they can succeed. And there's several different tracks that you can either do mental health, you can do security, you can do education, culinary. There's a lot of different types of job. Right now we have 2 interns that were actually sitting here last year who have joined, and we just hired 2 before that. So when interns come in, they usually want to stay there. There's lots of opportunity to advance in your career there. Like I said, we're 1 in 10 facilities, and we're very unique. It's, if you've ever worked with this population or been around it, it's when you have males and females mixed, it's kind of difficult. But that all-male smaller facility is just really a privilege, and out of all the facilities we have the lowest assault rate. And we recently increased our staff to youth ratio. So I don't know what you've heard in the media, but in the media, there's a lot of stories that have gone out about the violence, and it's pretty violent. Like place to be, but we're safe, and we're getting a lot safer because of that ratio. We also have just increased our pay. This July, we're going to get a 10% increase, and right now starting pay is at 34, but by next July it'll be almost at 39, or so $3,900 a month. So if you're interested in coming in, I have brochures and I have business cards. If you would like to come in and do an internship there, we'd love to have you. Like the police department, we get filled up pretty quick. We only have 3 slots a year, so you have to come in or get with me and come in and do a tour and see if it's something you'd be interested in. It's not for the faint-hearted. These youth have been exposed to violence. A lot of them are violent youth, but we don't have a lot of staff assaults anymore. So it is, like I said, it's safer right now to work there. A lot of the precursors the 2 main precursors are gang activity and mental health. We're seeing a lot more mental health youth. So working with these kids in the CBT fashion and helping them change their view and create empathy through our CJ initiatives and teaching them how to communicate, motivational interviewing, and how to build relationships. There's a huge response. We have about a 65% success rate with recidivism. So these kids get out into the community and they do fairly well. Of course, that's not what we hear about in the media. You hear about the ones that just get out and immediately reoffend. So a lot of our kids, a large portion of our kids will do a 2-year commitment and they will get back into the community and reoffend just to come back into our facility because they're very safe there. And unfortunately, we spoil them, and it's kind of the way that the law is now. They come in and they get a lot of services. So getting back out into the community and having a lot of responsibility and having to go to school and work, that some of them aren't real fond of that. So they end up coming back and doing a recommitment with us. So those raises, we can compete with other agencies now. There was a time when our pay wasn't enough to keep people, but we're seeing people stay now. Our turnover rate has gone down quite a bit. So you're all welcome to talk to me afterwards and we can discuss an intern. The intern that was just hired really likes it there, and she's been there with us for about a year now.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Diana. I'm with the probation department here in Colorado Springs. With our internship program, it's pretty fun. You guys will, I hate to say this, get thrown into the fire after all of your training that you do through us. And what I mean by that, you guys actually become probation officers. You guys will be running your own caseload. Some of the caseloads that you could be seeing are mental health clients, you could be seeing DUI clients, domestic violence, LSIP clients that have worked their way off of LSIP, burglary charges, drug charges. We usually don't see any juvenile cases or sex offender cases. So you will be supervising clients through the life of the case, and you will be making recommendations to the court. You'll be preparing documents to the court, whether they be reports to terminate the client's probation or to request a warrant to have your client taken into custody, summons to take clients back to court. So you are doing the work of an actual probation officer. You'll be doing community correction screens, and then going in front of a judge and making recommendations to a judge on what you think should happen with your client. Some other things that you can do outside of your caseload is shadow other probation officers in different caseloads. So if you have something that is interesting to you, economic crimes, clients, sex offenders, domestic violence, we can pair you with an officer and have you shadow some interesting cases if you'd like. Also, we can have we have some of our interns that shadow some of our facilitators for our moral recognition therapy, and that's one of our CDT groups that we run at our probation department. I'm trying to think anything else. We also have our victim assistance coordinator who couldn't be here. His name is Jason Murphy. And he is also looking for interns to help out with victim notification cases. So working with victims and seeing that through the life of the case too. And so if you have any questions, feel free to come up here, ask me. I have my cards. Look forward to talking to you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Yukiko Stout, and I'm the Volunteer Recruitment Manager with CASA of the Chesapeake region. And CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. In our program, we have about 5 different umbrellas. The 2 most direct work with children is the Court Appointed Special Advocate and then the SEPT program, which is Supervised Exchange and Parenting Time. You might be wondering what a service that has kids' social impact kind of intervention has to do with criminal justice. And from the internship standpoint and the contacts and the understanding that you would gain would be training in domestic violence relationships, what that looks like, and what that trauma has to do and how it affects children. So I'm going to give you a quick scenario and then I'll give you a few more facts. If you can think about being in a classroom and just close your eyes for a minute. You're getting ready for a pop quiz. Dr. Martinez says everyone take out a pen and paper. I want to ask you 5 questions and you're getting ready for that. You kind of know what the drill is. And then all of a sudden out of the back door, Dr. Martinez releases a tiger into the room. And the next thing you know, everything that's coming from the top of your brain, which is analytic, is going to go right back to the brain stem, which is fight or flight. Kids that have experienced trauma are in that fight or flight stance almost 80% of their waking time. They hear a noise, they hear something that doesn't make sense, and their brain goes immediately into flight or fight. So how well do you think you might do on that test? I don't know. I wouldn't. I'd probably throw my pencil up and maybe pee my pants and run out of the room. So the reason that this agency is working so hard to catch volunteers, recruit volunteers, and to work with interns is to help children understand where they are, what their hope for the future might be, and as interns for you to navigate the legal system, social services system, psychology and education with the kiddos, because that's how you work one-on-one. We do a very similar process as the rest of the criminal justice process for the volunteers. Interview, background checks, full fingerprint screening, and this is because you have access to children. And there are others that have alternative, ideas about what they want to do for children, and we want to prepare them to navigate once they're out and to be able to use their own networking and their own resources. So we have one particular internship, which is with the SEPT program, Supervised Exchange, Parenting Visiting Time. So let me know what your interest level is, whether it's a court-appointed special advocate or the exchange program, and we can work with you and probably more streamline what that work and service will look like. So please contact me out.
My name is Haley, and this is Heather. We're with the Public Defender's Office, and we're investigators. So if you chose to become an investigative intern at our office, I'm not sure if you know what a public defender is, but we just represent people on criminal cases that can't afford their own counsel. So like that includes any cases like juvenile cases, misdemeanors, felonies. So it's pretty much anything from like careless driving to homicide that we represent people on. So if you were an intern at our office, you can do a lot of things. So like starting out, you would just shadow like some investigators and do, if they have like special things going on, you can pretty much sit in anything and do with that, anything with them. So that includes like interviews, scene views, evidence views, pretty much anything that they're doing, you can sit in and watch. And then after you like shadow an investigator on doing something, you can go do things on your own. So that would include like serving subpoenas. You can visit like clients at the jail. A lot of times we have the interns show like discovery to them, have them sign releases, anything really that you might need to go to the jail for. You can like order records. You can get clothes for our clients if they have a trial coming up. You can go pick out clothes and take them to them at the jail. You can listen to jail phone calls, which can be sometimes pretty entertaining, to say the least. And then you can also just observe any trials that are going on. And right now we actually have a lot of trials going on, so there's a lot that you can see and like some pretty amazing attorneys that you can watch and just a lot of things you can see. But other than that, you can do anything, like I said, with an investigator if you'd like to do other things and like just get as much experience. Yeah, that's I get you. Yeah, if you are interested, you can come see us. We have some business cards.
And I'm Tyler Coates. I'm the program director with Colorado Springs Teen Court.
Well, for at least one more week, because this one decided to go get himself into the police academy that's starting this fall, so. I haven't accepted it. I'm working up to it. Anyway, what Teen Court is, we are a juvenile diversion program for first-time misdemeanor juvenile offenders. We see kids as young as 10 years old and as old as 18 years old. But we are kind of an oddball organization in the sense that we are an independently owned and operated nonprofit organization. We're not part of the court. We are based at municipal court. We obviously work with the court, but we are not part of the city, part of the court system. The cool part about what we do is that all of the juvenile defendants that are in our program are sentenced by other teenagers. So we have about 150 to 200 student volunteers, some of which started in the program as defendants themselves. They hear each of these cases on an individual basis. They interview our defendants and their parents separately. And then they, as a panel or a jury, depending on the case, these teenagers deliberate the most appropriate sentence based on what that kid needs. So we have them do community service hours to help reconnect them with the community. We send them to mentoring programs and educational offense-based classes. Like all of our shoplifters, we see a lot of that. They're all required to take a community impact panel where they spend 2 hours with people who work in loss prevention and they learn about the true effects of shoplifting and what that does to the community. We also have them do anger management classes. We have them go to outside agencies for empowerment programs and things like that. But basically, the light at the end of the tunnel for these kids, if they complete their sentence, they can get their charges dismissed. We also take cases as direct referrals from the schools in lieu of a ticket. So for example, 2 boys get in a fight, the fight lasts for 30 seconds. The school could choose to give them a ticket for misdemeanor fighting, or they could refer them to us as a pre-adjudication case or a pre-ticket case. And those same kids would come through same sentencing hearing process. They would go to the same classes, but they would have that ticket hanging over their head. So as long as they finish their sentence that route, they don't get ticketed at all. They're not in the court system at all. We're kind of an oddball organization, again, like I said, in the sense that because we're a nonprofit, we see about 400 cases a year. We have hundreds of kids who volunteer with us, hundreds of adults in various capacities, but because we're a nonprofit organization, we also have to have fundraising events throughout the year to keep the program going. So I can promise you, after doing this for 8 years, Tyler and I both started in teen court as interns in the UCCS criminal justice program, so we know how this works. You can't make this stuff up. These are not bad kids. They're just making really, really dumb decisions, and they need someone to stop them and essentially tell them, you know what's right from wrong, you know you're better than this, you don't want to have a criminal record, we want to get you out of this pattern of behavior. Tyler, do you want to tell them what the application process looks like?
Yeah, so you guys will submit your required paperwork to Mr. Martinez, and he will forward that along to us. We roll through it, make sure it's going to be a good fit. We'll then contact you for an interview with us, and we also have you fill out our teen court internship application. It's not as extensive as the UCCS internship application, but it's just so that we have basic information on you. We have you come down for an interview. If you're selected for the internship for that particular semester, we do require a background check, a fingerprint. You have to go down to the POC and get fingerprinted, and you also have to submit to a drug test. So that's kind of the pre-steps to that, and there's an online test that you have to take because we do kind of technically have access to a courthouse system. We don't necessarily use it, but we still have to be trained on it. So that's kind of the process of getting in. I have the contact information for the person who's going to be taking over my role for the internships and things of that nature, so I can give you her information on all of that stuff. But like Eric said, you can't make this stuff up. We both started as interns. It's something that you get addicted to, helping kids and working with kids. And it's a very rewarding experience. It's sometimes trying because you get frustrated with them, but it is ultimately a very rewarding experience to do that kind of work. And we call it using the positive side of peer pressure, because who better to tell a kid to stop making stupid decisions and being stupid than another kid? And they really listen, because as adults we can scream and yell at them and tell them all of this, and normally it's in one ear and right out the other. But as far as kids go, when they hear it from their peers, it carries a little bit more weight, and our numbers reflect that. For kids coming through our program, their chances of reoffending is only 7%. So it really works, and like I said, it really boils down to that face-to-face interaction with a peer and their investment in the program.
And as an intern, there are only 4 of us on staff, so we rely so much on our interns and our volunteers throughout the year. And you would be involved in the kids as far as contacting them, be present during their sentencing hearings. You'd have the opportunity to sit in some of the classes and hear the stories of these kids. Some of it is a lot of stupid decisions, but some of it, these kids come from very broken families and very broken homes, and they don't really have anyone fighting for them. So that's where we come in, and we try to keep them out of the court system before they continue down that path. So,
We're the ugly mothers they wish they never had.
yes, please, sir. So, thank you.
I'm Gwen Steiner from the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office, and we have about 135 volunteers, typically any given time, 100 to 135. We have roughly about 230 paid staff, and our volunteers are a very significant part of the work we do. We have volunteers who enjoy working with victims of domestic violence. So if you enjoy face-to-face contact with someone who really could use your help and support, that's one of the things that we do. We provide them a voice. We don't advise them what to do, but we give them a voice to tell us what they want to do in court. We also have people that work with children, and they're out in the community talking to kids about kids against crime, and they're teaching them, what are you going to do when a circumstance happens? Somebody pulls out a gun in class. Someone says, I'm going to kill myself, or you're at a party. How do you get out of that with still maintaining face? We're not telling them don't. We're telling them when a situation happens and if a situation happens, how do you handle it? We have people that really enjoy working in our special victims unit. So in that particular division, it's a lot of administrative work in preparation for a case. So you're pulling photos, you're pulling information pertaining to that particular case. This is the unit that handles child sex assault, murders, abuse, as well as any kind of offense to elderly or a handicapped person. We also have a lot of administrative roles that we need help in. And it's all about putting together felony level cases, misdemeanor cases. We also do jail calls and video visitation, which is also very interesting. If you enjoy psychology, it's certainly a place where you're going to see a lot of interesting personalities. We do have people that really enjoy this because it is piecing that together, making sure that we have the facts when we go to court, not just we think we have something. We also have people that are volunteering in our IT department, so if you really like IT, we do have people that come in and they help us working on our website. We have volunteers that work in our economic crime department, so if you really like finance and accounting, that's something that we're looking at also. We do have a website. You can go on there and look. Sometimes all of the positions are not posted because there's a lot of positions, but at least it'll give you the beginnings. You do have to fill out an application, and you will go through a very extensive background check. I just tell people, really kind of think of where you want to go. A lot of times our volunteers come in and they really don't know what they want to do with their education. So it's a really great sorting out ground for them to come in and decide, do I want to go into law enforcement? Do I want to work in investigations? Do I want to be a prosecutor? Do I want to be a legal assistant? Do I want to be a whatever it is, prosecution? And so it's a really great place. I think I've only had one person that came in there, but it was at the urging of his family. They wanted him to be an attorney, and it just wasn't a good fit for him. But everyone else has come in there, and it's really been a great place for them to really find out what they want to do. I do have brochures, and I do have business cards. I'd be more than happy to talk to you after and answer any questions that you might have. But there's a lot of areas. It's kind of like that criminal justice does. That degree pursuit opens a lot of doors. But then you can look at other things that might complement that: psychology, technology. We look for people that have great technical skills. So please come see me if you have any questions.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jean Krause, and I'm from the Colorado Springs Police Department. My office is the volunteer office, but it's also the portal for internships, and so you're coming into one in the same place. Also with me today is our recruiter, Officer Nick Ryland. So please come up afterward if you have any questions and are interested in anything for our department recruiter, and I know he'd be happy to talk with you as well. I'll focus on internships, and he'll be able to help you with questions about joining a law enforcement agency. Can I just have a quick show of hands? How many of you are interested in pursuing a law enforcement career? Okay. Wonderful. All right, we got a few more intern slots on this. So let me just tell you a little bit about internships in the Colorado Springs Police Department, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. As Mr. Walker said, there are limited opportunities at the department because we do have a lot of interest in students coming in. And so the screening is lengthy, as Gwen mentioned as well. We have a lot of steps. And so please follow the guidelines and the timeline that Mr. Walker has for you. All of our paperwork is already front-end loaded here at UCCS on your internship portal. So we've made it as streamlined as we can, but Mr. Walker will walk you through all of that, and then your applications will come to us to continue on in the processing. So just let me tell you a little bit about CSPD, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. There's about 1,000 employees in the Colorado Springs Police Department. They're about 2/3 sworn and 1/3 civilian. Most of our internships are on the sworn side, but we do have some on the civilian side, if that's of interest to you as well. There's two main bureaus. There is the Patrol Bureau, which all of you know as the patrol cars that you see around town. There's a patrol division in each of the 4 quadrants of the city. And then there's also the Police Operations Center, the headquarters, if you will. That's downtown on Rio Grande, Nevada. So there's also internships there on the operational side. So let me give you a couple examples of what some of those might be. On the operations side, we have interns that we place in our investigations division. That's really the hotbed where a lot of students like to work shoulder to shoulder with our detectives and our investigators, regardless of which area of the crimes. Now that can be the financial crimes unit, some of which Gwen alluded to. That can be in our robbery unit. We also have a special victims unit and major crimes. These are all investigative areas. But then supporting that is our victim advocacy unit. You've heard others talk about that as well. That's a civilian unit where we do take interns, and they are able to come in and work on the victim's rights side of things. But again, you have contact with officers that are part of that caseload as well. We also do place interns in municipal court, in the city court system, where teen court is as well. So there's opportunities there. On our patrol side, so now out in the patrol bureaus, are where our property crimes units are, and those detectives shoulder over 1,000 cases probably, and really could use your eyes and ears and help to learn some of that and help them with that caseload as well. It's also where our surveillance camera program exists. If you drive down the Tejon Street corridor, probably from Boulder down to Colorado, you'll see surveillance cameras posted along the way and big notifications up. We have monitoring stations throughout the city and at the police stations for those, and past interns have told us that was really a great way and a well-rounded experience by getting trained up on that surveillance camera system. You will learn monitoring the cameras, you will learn how to detect suspicious behavior, you're in touch with officers, and you're in direct communication with dispatch. So really a good, well-rounded experience there as well. We always encourage all of our interns to do officer ride-alongs. And CSPD now has civilian officers as well, so we've now included that in your internship opportunity to schedule ride-alongs with our civilian officers as well as our sworn officers. So that's really a broad brush. We have more opportunities, but again, those are probably the most popular ones that we talk with students about. Mr. Walker talked about our application process. It absolutely is apply early. I heard him mention mid-April for a fall internship, and that's spot on. Our process is such that once we receive your approved packet from Mr. Walker, then we get you scheduled for the background check, an in-person interview, and a polygraph, and that's across the board for everyone coming into the program. Additional screening may be required from there depending on if you're assigned to a very specific unit for a very specific reason. Everybody wants our crime lab. Everybody watches CCI and CSI and everything else and really wants that opportunity. I can tell you we maybe have one opening every other year in those units. So if that's something that you have the good fortune of looking for and we're able to provide it for you, there might be some additional screening in those units as well. Our biggest disqualifier is marijuana use, and I know Mr. Walker and Mr. Martinez talked about that. There can be no marijuana use, medical or recreational, for 18 months prior to the date of your application. It's an automatic disqualifier. So for those of you looking to come into a law enforcement environment, please know your audience and where you're trying to come on board, and then we'll work with you on that. That's it. I think most of the information is what I've given to you. So if you have additional questions about CSPD, we'll be here. Officer Ryland and I will be here. If you have questions about coming on board and that application process, please see Officer Ryland as well, and we'd love to help you. Thank you.
I'm Officer Ryland. I'm just going to introduce myself real quick with Colorado Springs Police Department, the recruiter there. So I know I recognize some of your faces. I've been talking to you for good reason, not bad. But if you guys have any questions about any law enforcement, how to kind of prepare yourself for it, please ask me. We just closed an application process for the November Academy. We'll probably open up another process here, probably coming up in October for a summer 2019 Academy. So if that's kind of where you'll be looking, just make sure you get a hold of me and let me know that you're interested, and I'll kind of guide you to what you need to do. Because like I said, the applications for most departments, you're looking anywhere from 8 to 10 months out by the time they're actually going to start getting hired. So real short for me, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Hey, I'm John Armbruster. I'm a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations. It looks like I'm maybe the token fed here today. And if you're looking for an internship with us, it's tough because when you get an internship with us, you're basically applying to be you're becoming an employee. They talk about the background investigation. At the local level, they work a lot quicker than us. So it's we've only had a couple successful all the way through people coming in and working as interns. And when you do become an intern, you usually end up doing stuff that we don't want to do, like putting notebooks together, organizing exhibits, collating subpoenas and fun stuff like that. But we'll occasionally take you on search warrants, and you can still ride in our cars with us. Just we don't give you a gun or anything. So what HSI is, had anybody ever heard of that before? Generally, the only people that hear of us are the ones that either want to work for us or the ones that we've arrested, because we're kind of a good secret. We're the largest investigative branch in the Department of Homeland Security, which came around 2003 when they mashed a bunch of different organizations together. We're the stepchild of the U.S. Customs Service, which is who I was working for, and Immigration Service, and we took all of the 1811s, the investigators, and mashed us together. Now we have jurisdiction over 400 or so federal crimes, including anything that touches the border, which is where the customs stuff comes from. We have contraband, which is drugs, child pornography, which I don't know if you know that that's actually contraband, but that's one of our bigger, more painful and slightly more rewarding crimes to investigate. IPR violations, intellectual property rights, you learn about that at all? Basically, you're taking anything from NFL jerseys to bootleg Microsoft, Napster, and well, man, I'm dating myself. Napster it's this music sharing thing they used to have way back when. You don't have to worry about that now because you have Spotify. And, it's all pretty much legal. But a lot of the intellectual property rights that end up costing industries a lot of money. We deal a lot with money. Customs was under the Treasury Service, and the Customs Service made more money for the government than every other branch of government except for the IRS. And as far as seizures went, we funded the government out of hand during most of the 90s because we were taking so much drug money. So money laundering, financial crimes. Counterproliferation, we deal a lot. So ATF does a lot of the guns in the states. We deal a lot with weapons going out of the states and technology transfer. So sensitive technology, cool, gee-whiz, Army stuff that we don't want our enemies to have, that we're not going to discuss here because I don't trust you yet. Things that we have to deem protected, we deal a lot with that. We do undercover investigations. We do a lot of reactive investigations. One of the things a lot of people ask, where will I go if I get hired? Most of you, if you get hired, will probably go to the southwest border and you'll learn to work drug loads because that's a huge portion of what we have to deal with. So we deal with, seizures across anything that gets seized coming across the border by the inspectors or whatnot. We end up prosecuting those. We deal a lot with public safety. So one of the things that having the Immigration Authority allows us to do is deal with a lot of gangs. You hear this term transnational gangs in classes a lot. Transnational criminal organizations, TCOs, TNOs, something like that. So we, with the public safety, will kick in with MS-13. I came from the East Coast, and that was a pretty big thing out there. And they're all from El Salvador, and sometimes you can't get them on the crime on the face, so you end up having to deal with the administrative immigration, and you just send them home and let them become somebody else's problem. We're usually a second job, so this is my third career. So a lot of internships are a great way to get in. There's a pretty dedicated co-op program at some universities. That's a great pipeline to get in. But usually, if you want to do this job, we're hiring a lot of veterans and former police. So it's a tough job to get, but it is a lot of fun. We have very broad investigative authority, and we fly a little under the radar so that we don't draw a whole lot of attention to ourselves and get ourselves in trouble with the media so much. So get a little more freedom. And if you have any questions afterwards, just feel free to come back.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alondra Gonzalez. I currently work for the Colorado Department of Corrections Division of Adult Parole. I've done a few of these before, but just a little description of what parole does, because it oftentimes gets confused with probation. So we supervise offenders that have come out of prison. We work with reintegrating them back into society. Currently, the office is located off Garden of Gods Road, so it's just kind of down the university here. Our description of what we do with these offenders when they're on parole is we supervise them to make sure that they're in compliance with the parole board's speculations. We work specialized caseloads. I worked with the sex offender unit for over 2.5 years. My supervisor here works currently with the gang unit. We also work with mentally ill. We have an in-house mental health clinician that helps us with the offenders that are currently in psychosis or dealing with some type of mental health trauma. We also have inside the office reentry services that helps the offenders reintegrate easier into society by providing them guidance on jobs and getting them their Medicaid, their food stamps with that. Kind of our day-to-day office, it can be as simple as conducting office visits and speaking with these offenders, to conducting arrests and searches in the parking lot. As an intern, you would have to go through an intensive background check due to the sensitive material that you'll come across while supervising some of these offenders. We work with victim services, we work with CSPD, we work with ATF, we work closely with El Paso County Sheriff's Department. So it's a really broad spectrum. So when I got my degree in criminal justice, I thought I wanted to do law enforcement and that was it. But doing parole and being hired on with parole has kind of given me a broad spectrum of case management through the law enforcement. So if that's something that you are interested in, and I highly recommend it. I will let Team Leader Wagner here talk a little bit about gangs, because I'm sure that's an interest for some people. I do know a lot about the sex offenders, so if you have any questions, please let me know. I did bring business cards, and I can talk a little bit about the whole internship process, okay?
Hi, my name is John Wagner. I'm the team leader of our gang unit here in the Colorado Springs area. Probably the big thing that we do is we try to reintegrate a lot of our gang members that live in the Colorado Springs area, trying to transition them out of gangs. We also do close supervision due to the high risk, high profile nature of most of our clients. So with parole, if you're looking for an opportunity to help somebody, but you're also looking in a way to help your community, ensure public safety, parole is a great way. We're all post certified. We have the ability to file criminal charges anywhere in the state. We're a statewide agency, therefore, if you're looking to move around, we've got offices in Denver, Springs, Pueblo, pretty much any city in Colorado. So it's a great opportunity to work with people. It's a very diverse job. You can do anything from gangs, sex offenders, community. We have a youthful offender system, our YOS program, if you're looking to work with juveniles. So mainly with my job, we work with high-risk offenders. We do a lot of home visits. We work a lot of late nights, weekends, mornings. We try to keep a close eye on some of the gang members, their activities. Some people are wanting to change, some aren't. With the ones that we're not, we keep a close eye on. You usually find drugs, guns, things of that nature on them. So if you're looking for something that's pretty exciting, but you're also wanting to help somebody, this is the perfect job for you.
So I will stick around. I have a pile of business cards. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if I forgot anything else. That's all I can remember at this point. But again, I'll stick around. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm also on campus a lot because I'm currently grabbing my master's here. So feel free to ask me questions. I work closely with the university, so I will be around, I think, next week or following week for a victim panel where we bring in some survivors and talk about their side of the story. So I recommend you guys coming to that as well.
Thank you very much. My name is Derek Harvey. I'm currently the Chief of Police in Canyon City. And I've actually been making notes of several of the programs that you all have, because I'd like to do an internship with you too. Just kidding. So we're a much smaller municipality than quite a few folks here on the panel. And so our scope of work, it doesn't change regardless that we're a small town of about 18,000 people and a small police department of roughly around 50 folks. The difference there is that we have much less resources really to make a difference or to respond to the murders or kidnappings or things that we see in big cities. We still have to respond to those things. And what we're really looking for from an intern and really from our long-term folks that want to come work with us is we want people that want to make a difference in our community and our organization. And so that's more or less the philosophy that we implement with our interns who want to come learn about local law enforcement is, I want you to bring your passions to me. We're a lot less structured, a lot less organized. We only have about 3 interns that we can handle per semester and be effective, quite honestly. But if you have an interest in developing a community outreach program, we're still trying to develop those. We're still trying to reach our community. We're still trying to form coalitions. I recently served on the governor's task force for mental health and criminal justice reform. So we're still engaged, we're still involved, and I need people that can take a little bit and make a lot with it to make a difference in our community and our organization. So our internship program really is not self-guided, but it is a discussion with me in the very early stages about where your pathway goes and how that intersects with the Canyon City Police Department and our community. We've had interns in the past who have come and developed crime analysis programs that have turned into actually crime analysis positions with the city. And so we have the predictive analytics and intelligence-led policing concepts within our department because somebody external who wanted to come be an intern and wanted to develop some programs with our department. So I definitely can answer any questions specifically about our process. We also require you to go through our normal application process, so the background pieces, access to sensitive information in databases, all those things apply. Our process is a lot faster, granted, because we have a lot fewer positions and smaller departments, we have to get those things done quickly. So I would encourage you, if you are interested in making a difference with the community, making a difference with an organization, local law enforcement would be my vote. It's, you know, I guess I'm a little biased because I'm the police chief. So, but I'd love to talk with you and answer any questions that you have after this, and tell you about our process, and talk with you about what fit you might have as an intern with the Canyon City Police Department.
Does anyone have specific questions of any of our panel members? I know you all want to meet with them individually, but any open questions that you have? Sounds like a classroom, nobody else to talk to.
Are some of your internship positions paid positions, or are they purely on a voluntary basis?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit, so unfortunately ours are unpaid as well.
Unpaid.
Ours are paid, but they're a cadet program, not a true internship program.
We very often hire our temporaries to fill time. We have temporary positions that they can fill. So most often I'll start as an intern, go into a temp position, and then the rest of the year permanent position.
With Pearl, it's unpaid.
Unpaid.
With the district attorney's office, they're unpaid. You are required for 6 months, even though your internship hours may be completed, to still stay on 8 hours a week, typically. A week higher than a week. So it's a great opportunity for them.
My question is for Nicholas Diana. So after you sort of become a probation officer, can you get hired?
It's pretty interesting. With our volunteer probation officers, what usually happens, it's kind of an interesting cycle. What they do is they'll go over to TI probation, which is our private probation provider, which takes lower level cases, and then they'll come over to the state side with us, and they'll get hired on as state probation officers. Some of the volunteer probation officers have gotten hired on as state probation officers too. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Any other questions? How many of you are looking at a summer internship? There's more hands up than applications I've received, so if you have not turned in your summer application form, make sure you get that into me by Friday. You can email it to me. Those of you that are looking for fall internship, how many? Another good number. Those, again, as Mr. Walker explained, are due in June. And again, it gives the agency the opportunity and the time to do some interviews with you, do some background investigations and so on. So make sure, again, you get that paperwork into me. How many of you have logged in or logged on to the School of Public Affairs website and pulled up the internship manual? Good. We do have an internship manual. Our application is part of that. We have the applications for CSPD, the DA's office, probation office. They're all available in addition to the UCCS internship application. So depending on which agency you're looking at doing, if it's probation, not only the UCCS application, but also the probation department applications. The same with the DA's office, the same with CSPD. Now those applications will either come into me or Mr. Walker. Don't send them directly to the agency. Send them to me. I will drop a letter to the agency along with your application, asking them to consider you for the internship. And then that agency will follow up with you once they receive your paperwork. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there an age restriction for any of the internships?
Age restriction for internships?
You have to be 18 years or older. 18 and older.
18. 18 and you have to hire to 21.
Same with us, 18.
18.
We have two programs. So the SEP program, you need to be 18, and the CASA program, 21.
18.
I would say too, that there are alternatives to an internship. The cadet program is a great alternative. So cadet programs generally allow 15 and 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds to come be part and take. The problem is there's significant limitations for folks who are under the age of 18. But there are programs for folks who are under the age of 18.
Now again, if you look at our internship manual and there is not an agency you would like to be considered for an internship, we are open to looking at additional agencies. So if you have an agency in mind, if you make contact with that agency and they've expressed a willingness to work with you to oversee an internship, we have an internship agreement that we will provide that agency. So again, when you look at the internship manual and you think, well, there's somewhere else that I want to work as an intern, you make contact with that agency, and they're willing to do that.